We hear a lot of questions and misconceptions about missions, but it all boils down to what does the Bible say about God's heart for the lost and what are we called to do about it? This is a complex question, so here we go. In Matthew 28 and Mark 16, after raising from the dead and before Jesus left his disciples, he gave them some very specific last words of instruction. And he told them to go into all the world, preaching the gospel to everyone, making disciples of everyone who responded to that gospel, and then baptizing them in his name. And since those were his last words, nothing has changed for us today. In Romans 10:14 through 15, it answers the question of how do we reach the world with a series of questions. Confusing, I know. But those questions ask, how can people who don't believe get saved unless they hear the gospel? And then the question is, how can they hear the gospel unless someone is sent to tell them the gospel? And then the question is, how can someone be sent unless there is a sender supporting them in that work? And the answer is, they can't. There are three types of people in Romans chapter 10. We call them the hearers, the senders, and the sent. The hearers are the people that need to hear the gospel so that they can believe. And it is this need that drives God's heart to preach the gospel to those that haven't yet heard. The sent are the ones who bring the gospel to them, and the senders are the ones who make it possible. People are going to need to hear the gospel regardless if we do anything about it, but Christ has called us to action, and that requires both senders and those who are sent. If we were to reword John 3:16 in this context, it would go something like this. For God so loved the world, the hearers, that he, the sender, gave his only begotten Son, the sent. Jesus could come back so soon, and really all of us need to ask ourselves the tough questions. Am I willing to share in his heart and go to those that haven't heard yet, whether next door, the state over, the country over, or someplace completely random to us? Because how else will they hear?